99.99999% of all businesses are in the rig system and they don't realize that they're getting screwed.
Welcome back to the Chris Naugle Show. He is known as the marketing maverick, reshaping business success using the secret formula that gets presidents elected. This man is no joke. This man's got a lot to talk about, and this man has overcome adversity and personal things in his life that you got to hear about. So welcome, Phillip Stutts, to the show. Enjoy.
You know, I was the first generation of attention deficit disorder kids. There was no H in it was just ADD. It wasn't ADHD, right? I mean, that's how early an adopter I am. I guess I'm always an early adopter, right? And so like I was diagnosed and put on Ritalin in the 1980s, right? I really am the first generation. And so the point I'm making in that is that I'm attention deficit disorder, like a madman. And school was, like for a lot of entrepreneurs, school is a horrific experience. And I just struggled like crazy in it because they teach you to stay in the rules. And I'm not really a rule follower, as you probably can tell. And so it just was a miserable experience to me. Ultimately, I realized I could really only do what I loved doing, which I was passionate about. And that led to, going to college, and literally college was a horrific experience as well. Like had I do it, I have no regrets, but had I do it over again, never would have walked into a college campus. And then, so I really only cared about two things in my entire life growing up. And they were not academic. They were college football and it was politics. And it wasn't like I wanted to study policy issues and be a nerd or anything like that. I was obsessed with political campaigns, how they were run, who won, who lost. I just was so intrigued by that. And it really got, when I went to college, I mean, I'm 5'9" and I'm 150 pounds. So, you're not going to be playing college football or anything like that.
That might hurt.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's some that can do that, but not me. And so I, put all my energies into looking into how political, the politics things. I was a political science minor, a public relations major at the University of Alabama. And then after that was over, I said, I'm going to try my hand in this political campaign world. Well, 25 years later, here we are. And I've been you probably said this in the intro, but it's like, I've been a part of a lot of races, a lot of presidential wins. And it's, about 6-7 years ago, I had an entrepreneur come to me and he's obsessed with politics, but he also is one of the largest landowners in the state of Hawaii. And he came to me and he's got this huge development in Hawaii. And he's like, oh man, we've spent $50,000 on a campaign. We got one lead into building a housing development in Hawaii. He goes, do you think you guys could employ political strategies into my marketing and see if we can get a better ROI? And he said, I think he had spent 50 grand one lead. And he said, I'll give you like $7 grand. Tell me what you can do. And we ended up getting almost 800 leads.
On $7 grand. And he spent 50,000 and got one.
Yeah, and got one lead, right. With a marketing agency. And so it really, I was like, maybe there's something here. There's a long evolution, right, since that point. But really what it sparked me was to do is okay, what do we get right in politics that corporate marketers don't? And is there a niche in the marketplace for something like the skill set I have? And I ended up interviewing about 100 CEOs over the next year, trying to figure out what works and what doesn't in the corporate marketing world. And I heard the same thing over and over. Every business owner had told me they had fired a marketing agency sometime in their life cycle, almost sometimes 2 or 3 different ones. And I kept asking well, why? What was the common denominator? And so they laid out all these factors. And I went, oh, well, we'd never do that in politics. Oh my God, running political campaigns, we'd never act like that. We'd never do this, never do that. And it's huh. So I was like, what? I think I got a book in me. So in 2008, I published my first book, and it's called Fire Them Now, The 7 Lies Digital Marketers Sell. And it's based on that premise. And then over the next 3 years, we just started putting together sort of we started building our corporate marketing business. And then really, we had a massive failure. So tell me if you want me to slow down, but we had a massive.
Please. I'm trying to keep up here. There's so much stuff.
Yeah, we had so we were working with this supplement company, and it was one of our first big clients. It was an 8-figure company going to 9 figures. And the business owner was fascinated by politics and, same thing. I think if you have to be like intrigued by how political campaigns are run. And I think that's like, well, I'd be interested in that in my business. Right. But we hadn't really proven the model. This was many years ago. So this guy hired us and we started working with him. We started employing these political tactics along the way and having some success. And then he's like, hey, I want to run an Instagram campaign. Instagram is his #1 selling platform, conversion platform. And he's like, you guys, can you do a lift up? I want to do my #1 selling supplement. So we sent our creative team down. We took we did a photo shoot and we started to put together this campaign. And we presented the campaign to him before we went live. And he went, what the hell are you guys doing? And we went, what do you mean? And he said, this is awful. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, we've worked like a month on this. And he goes, most of the ad campaign is centered around the supplement and there's no human being in the ad. I said, yeah. He goes, I've worked 6 years on my logarithm on Instagram. It's my #1 performing platform. If you have to have a human being in every picture or my logarithm will crash. One post will crash it. How do you not understand me? And I went, oh, and I went, man, we'll fix it. Sorry about that. We'll get on this immediately. He said, okay, I'll talk to you next week. I've never talked to him again. He actually ghosted us. And it forced me to sit in this very office I'm doing this interview in. And I sat down in this office and I went, we got something wrong here. Like, that was a huge client. We completely screwed up. What are we doing wrong? And then I started asking myself questions and writing. I literally locked myself in the office for like 2 weeks and wrote out answers to questions. And one of the questions was, what do we get right in politics that corporate marketers don't understand? And then I went, well, what's the formula that we use to elect a politician? And really I identified this 5-step formula, which is the premise of the book, my new book. And I'd never proven it.
Your new book is called The Undefeated Marketing System, correct?
Yeah. How to grow your business and build your audience using the secret formula that elects presidents. And so, so we decided, I literally went back to my team when I laid out, I said, oh, it's this 5-step process. And we use every political marketing campaign has utilized this over the last 15, 16 years. Everybody every major candidate in the United States has won utilizing this formula. And I went, why aren't we doing this in our corporate world? Let's try this out. Now, we had not proven the model, but I thought, well, we're all in on it. Let's do it. And so we literally went back to all of our corporate clients and said, yeah, but we're going to scrap what we've been doing. We're going to focus and do this systematic approach, which is all based and rooted in data and elimination risk. And all of a sudden we see within about 6 months, every single client of ours started growing their bottom line, every single one. And since then, every single client that has followed the systematic approach has grown their bottom line. And we went, oh my God, there's something here. And then obviously I decided, well, I need to write another book because there is something here. And the reason I tell you this, and this is a long answer, so I apologize in advance, but the marketing in corporate America is a rigged system. 99.99999% of all businesses are in the rigged system and they don't realize that they're getting screwed almost every single day. It's almost like, I'd say this, that it's like a casino. The house is always going to win. The big tech companies are always going to get your money and you're always going to spend. And you may get a hot hand a few times, but you are always going to lose more than you win. And what I decided to do was to create a system that reversed engineered that. And what we decided to do was create a system that the business owner always wins no matter what, and in their marketing. And so I'm going to pause for a second, but I can give you 1,000 examples of this. And we can dig deep into this, or we can go wherever you want to go.
Well, it's interesting because in my businesses, whether it's real estate or money, we do a ton of marketing. There's months we spend upward of 6 digits on just monthly spend in digital media. And we are all following this formula because no matter how many marketing agencies I've worked with, they're all doing the same identical thing. And you know what? usually it doesn't work. So what you're saying has a lot of merit, but like when you went to that one company with that product and you did that, you're thinking that you're wrong because he told you you're wrong. You're the marketing expert. Were you wrong, or was he just too closed-minded and too egotistical to realize that he might have just missed out on something that could have changed his entire business for the better?
Maybe so. And I don't disregard that. If he would have been more patient with us, we could have figured it out. But it's like any kind of massive failure. When I say failure, the guy fired us, he ghosted us, and it was a huge contract, right? And but I had to learn from that. What was I going to learn from that? And frankly, I created, a multi-million-dollar company out of that one firing, which whether it was fair or not, I don't really care. I'm grateful to be fired in that moment, because I realized that we had to do something. We had to fix something. We had to look at it. So, that's up to him. I've never talked to him again. I have no idea if he follows my stuff or reads next book, but he's a big part of it, and I'm grateful for him.
So what exactly is it that business owners get trapped in? Like, can we just unpack that a little bit? And
man, this is going to be fun for me. Okay, yeah, so you're right.
What do we, because I'm going to put myself in that category. Where are we missing the boat? Are we missing the boat in how we're marketing, or the messaging, or is it the customer, the way that they're viewing it? Because there's a lot of different components. So please.
Yeah. So companies that successfully market today aren't by accident. They don't use, they use a systematic approach. It's not they don't treat it as a hobby. They don't treat it as tactics. They treat it as a professional systematic application. So what do I mean by that? According to Forbes, we are now seeing up to 10,000 ads a day online and offline. Chris, whatever you're selling out there and whoever you think your competitor is not your competitor. It's 10,000 other businesses. It's shoe companies, it's t-shirt companies, it's hair care product companies, it's anything, because we're seeing up to 10,000 ads a day. And unless you're breaking through that clutter and you understand what it takes to break through that clutter, you're only going to be in that statistic, and you're always going to lose. Let's just take, I think the Bayard Institute has, it's the Bayard Institute. They have a stat out right now that the average cart abandonment rate for an e-commerce company is 68.81%. That leaves $260 billion with a B, $1 billion a year left out of the American economy. All right. I'm going to read this one just because it just came out. According to Facebook, in 2016, there were 3 million advertisers on their platform. At the end of 2020, there were 200 million businesses that were using their free business tools and 10 million active advertisers on Facebook. Think about that. You're not competing in the same world that you were 4 or 5 years ago. Let me give you 2 crazy stories that are going to blow your mind. We work with a background check company. They're a big one, like the fast food industry uses them when they're hiring workers all over the country, and they came to us and said, hey, we want you to hire us. One of the first things we do, and I'm going to walk through the step one in a minute, step one of our Undefeated marketing system. But the reason, because it's the most important and it's super interesting, but one of the things we also do when people hire us is we audit what they're doing, because we want to know why are they doing these certain things. Well, this particular company has a SEO keyword campaign, and they're spending a lot of money on it. And when we audited, we realized that 3 years ago, Google had changed some of the algorithm within the keyword, platforms, and they didn't know it, and their marketing firm didn't know it, that they had at the time. And so they had been actually bidding against their own keywords for 3 straight years and spending $10,000 a month in extra fees, bidding against themselves. And they had no idea that Google had changed the rules. Now, Google alerted them, but no one noticed. On a different note, I had a baby toy company owner reach out to me out of the UK recently. And he said he had built his company to he were doing $900,000 a month in sales, until his cheap competitors decided to start a 1-star review campaign with him on Amazon. And all these cheap competitors started voting after they left a 1-star review. The other cheap competitors started clicking on the helpful button, which, by the way, in the algorithm game of Amazon, makes that review top of post. And this guy's sales went from $900,000 a month to $80,000 a month,
just because of that. Because of 1-star reviews?
So he reached out to Amazon, and they said, sorry, nothing we can do about it. And I asked him, where how much are you selling on your own website? And he said 0. And I said, well, there's your problem. Not that you should always ignore Amazon, but in the world that we're living in today, you have to be a data company that sells your product or service, not a product or service company that occasionally thinks about data. Like Coca-Cola is not a soft drink company or water bottle company. They are a data company that sells soft drinks and water and other products. Uber is not a ride sharing company or a food delivery company. They are a data company that does ride sharing and food delivery. Everybody when I say the marketing in the world right now is rigged against 99.99999% of businesses, it's because Google, Facebook, Coke, all the Fortune 200 companies, they understand they're data companies first. They own the data. And they have a systematic approach in the way they market their business. And what I'm doing is trying to bring that same systematic approach to smaller businesses so they can stop losing more than they win. And I mean, if you want, I can go all day long on stats and stuff like this. And every business owner I find is like, I can't figure it out. Facebook worked 6 months ago, it doesn't work anymore. I'm like, well, yeah, Apple changed.
Was killing it, and now TikTok's not killing it. It's just like, it's almost like these guys all get together for like a monthly meeting and they say, hey, we're going to take over this month. So, retract everything everybody's doing. It's frustrating, but it's just the world of marketing.
It is. And a business owner didn't go into business to market their business. They went into business because they believed in their vision.
Good point.
And so they don't pay attention to this. So unless you have a marketing agency that's on top of this all day long, and the only way to be on top of this is to embed it into your systematic approach. So for us, I'll just walk through step 1 because I think it's really important. Then I can go through all the steps. I don't care. It's up to you. It's your show. But I mean, look, the way I do it is this. I don't build a brand like for a company before we go out and advertise. I don't do any. The first thing I do is I do a deep dive into their customer market to understand what the customer wants out of that product or service before anything else. So I have a partnership with the largest data collection, analytics, and AI company in America. We have 230 million American consumers in our database. We're tracking 550 million connected devices, 10 billion online purchasing decisions every day, and 1 trillion searches. I literally I mortgaged my entire company on the fact that we were going to build this as a database marketing agency. And so I can literally overlay your customer base online, and I can tell you the specific platforms they're on in a chronological order. I can tell you your customers' top values in life. I can tell you what they read specifically, like what publications they read. I can tell you what shows they're watching. I can tell you whether they're on connected TV or traditional TV. I can tell you if they're on Spotify or listening to podcasts. I literally can tell you everything you've ever wanted to know about your customers. And wouldn't that be nice to know before you go out and spend a bunch of money? Because ultimately everybody we run into goes, I don't know, we threw some Facebook ads up. And like I said earlier, I'm like, well, are your customers on Facebook? Are they buying things on Facebook? And they go, I don't know. Well, wouldn't you want to know that before you go spend a lot of money? And so we've just perfected this step 1 of doing a deep dive on the target market and the customer. And we do it a lot of different ways.
I feel like that's what you need to do. Like, so many people, and I believe me, I like to think I'm good at marketing, but nothing compared to what you're doing. But if you don't understand the problem you're solving for your client and how to solve that problem, how can you market to them? Oh, by just throwing up ads. I used to do that. I had no idea.
We've all done it.
I just threw money away. And it's literally like, might as well just go to the table and just, hey, what one's not hitting, and just keep putting it on that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I always tell business owners, don't be ashamed. Don't. Everybody's doing this. The game is rigged against you. You have to understand. I'll give you another stat. I'm going to throw out stats all day long on you. Okay. 88% of American consumers say one bad experience on your website and they'll never come back again. How many times, Chris, have you gone and been like, oh, that's an intriguing product. You click on it and it's like the fonts go to the edge of the website. It's not mobile friendly. And you're like, I'm out of here. Like, you just swipe right out of it. Right. We've all done it. So like, when I look at this, I always say, like, for me, step 3 is building the brand, because you must know what the customer wants, and your brand should be delivering to what the customer wants when they come to your website. Like, I just don't understand how people don't get this. So many times the business owner goes, oh, well, we talked to a marketing agency And they said they sat around a table and had a brainstorm and had great ideas for our brand. And I'm like, well, what does the customer want? And they're like, oh yeah, I don't know. And I mean, I'll break it down and make it even simpler. This is a question for you, Chris, or anybody. What if you found out, we love to tell our founder story. I mean, I'm no different, right? I love to tell my founder story. I'm sure you do too. I love it. But what if you found out that 75% of that story, your customers or your clients didn't want to hear or didn't care about? Wouldn't you just start focusing on that story, on the only 25%, and make that, the 100%, and work on that and make that even better and focus it on their needs? It's empathetic. It's empathy. What we don't have in marketing right now, we have everybody trying to do clickbait shit. And I just don't believe in that. I believe we use data for good, and we use it to understand our customer, and we deliver to what they want in life, not what you just want to say in your product or service.
I love that. So if data is the main thing, and data truly doesn't lie, it's just,
Yep.
That's the baseline. But how do you read into the data? If you're a business owner and you're out there in this crazy world where there's a million marketing agencies all hitting you up with all this clickbait shit that we talked about, how do you get through that to actually figure out what you need and then find somebody that actually gives a shit about what you need and actually driving sales to the bottom line? Like, how do we do that?
Yeah, so that's a great question. There are two different ways of doing it. One is bootstrapping and one is paying for it. You just have to figure out how important this step is for you, right? So with us, we started doing it for Fortune 200 companies. The Fortune 200 companies, we were charging in the six figures for one data report, but they want to look at hundreds of segments. And when I say segments, it could be 20 to 22-year-old females that are single, that live in a big city. I mean, it's just all these different target markets they want to look at. Well, I went to the data partner, and this is where we pay a lot. We're an exclusive licensee to this data company, but we pay a licensing fee of high six figures every 2 years. And we went to them and said, small businesses need this as well. And they said, okay, pay our licensing fee and then charge what you want. So we actually charge about $7,500 for one of these data reports now. Same ones that Amazon does, Disney does. I'd say we've got about 8 Fortune 200 companies that are utilizing this data right now. And we can offer it to smaller businesses at a fraction of the cost. That's an expensive way of looking at it, right? That's how we look at it. We want to be the best in the world for smaller businesses and Fortune 200 companies. There are other ways. There are a lot of other data companies out there. And by the way, one I will say this, you will rarely see me talk about myself, but I will say my superpower is that I know how to interpret data. All I've ever done for 25 years is interpret data for politicians or for companies. It's just all I've done. I just can look at the data and I can see if your customer market is exercising 4 days a week, it's not that you need to go advertise at a gym. It's that that is the certainty in their life. They like certainty of their workouts. Like, I'm the same way. I work out all the time and it's my certainty. It's what I love. I have to do it. And you want to deliver certainty in your product and the way you sell or market your product or service. Like, that's how I interpret the data, right? There are bootstrapped ways. And there are a million different ways that by the way, there are other data companies. You can go through them. I don't care, whatever works for the business owner. The bootstrapped ways are, like you said, look, I don't have all the money in the world. I can't do everything I want to do in my life and in my business because I have to be on a budget, and I bootstrapped all my businesses. So I have to look at stuff sometimes and say, well, I got to make a calculated decision here. And the bootstrapped way is you run Facebook ads and you look at their analytics. You run Google ads, you look at their analytics. You do surveys to your own customer base and you see what happens. You see what people are buying and what they're not buying, and you take that data and you optimize it. There are different ways of doing it. Listen, I was on James Altucher's podcast recently. He asked me that same question you did. And I said, well, give me an example. And he's like, how about a restaurant? And I'm like, cool. If I'm owning a restaurant, first of all, I'm going to, flyer the entire neighborhood if I opened it with discounts to get people in, coupons, or just any kind of incentive. And then once they're in there, I'm going to have every one of my servers asking every one of the patrons what their favorite dish was, what what worked, what didn't work, what did they not like about the restaurant? And then I'm going to go back and record all that data. And then I'm going to make better decisions the next month than I did the first month. There are a million ways that you can collect data. Sometimes it's bootstrapped, sometimes it's very sophisticated, but it's up to the business owner to figure that out.
So you said something earlier that I really want to hone in on. You were talking, I mean, you work with huge companies, 4 Fortune 200 clients, 3 presidential victories. I mean, you got all these huge clients, but then you mentioned you figured out how to bring this big stuff that, the average small business in America, the mom and pop, they can't afford what you do.
Yeah.
Or can they? Have you brought it down where you can actually help the small businesses and the Fortune 100, 200, and 500 companies?
Well, yeah. First of all, in the book, we walk through how you can utilize the 5-step marketing system for yourself. So in the book, and it's all based in data. It's all based in data. Well, man, I'm saying is like, here's the thing. Like I write every 2 weeks to my subscriber list. I do my own podcast and I wrote a book, and all of those things are free and they cost you about $8 to buy the book. And you get all that stuff for free. And it's all I'm doing is preaching about this and telling you how to do all these things. So there are a million free ways to understand how I think and that I get out there. But we worked with a ton of startups. We worked with a ton of small businesses. I'm talking about businesses that are $1 million and less. And yeah, our data costs $7,500 for us to look at a certain number of segments for you. But what is it worth to get it right up front? And so I'll give you an example. Yeah, we work with a national pest control company. I love the pest control industry. They are innovative. It's crazy. Like you never would have thought. But if a pest control company is not advertising every single day, they're out of business. And this pest control company, they're a national chain, but they came to us and they said, we tripled or quadrupled our business on the backs of the Great Recession by running an ad campaign on discounts for everything. And then in about 2015, 2016, they were like, all of a sudden it came to a screeching halt and they didn't know why. And they ended up spending $1.8 million in marketing dollars and lost $2 million in market share in that time. In one region of the country, they couldn't figure out why. And so we ran one of our data reports and we found out that the economy had boomed so much after the Great Recession and by 2015 that the people that were their customers, which are older people who didn't have kids in the household, that they saw discounts as cheap. You were going to invite some random dude into your house to spray poison and you didn't know who it was. And they were telling you can get it real cheap. And that didn't make affluent people that were hiring pest control services feel very safe. But they had no idea. They had actually guessed their marketing campaign for about 6-7 years by saying discounts. They just guessed it and it worked until it didn't. And so we went in and helped them reorganize, looked at their data, went through our 5-step marketing system with them. And 6 months after they worked for us, they had the highest grossing month in the history of their company, 41-year-old company. And I can tell you that we work with a 107-year-old furniture chain in America. They just had the greatest month in the history of their company. We work with a New York City law firm. They just had the greatest month in the history of their company. And I'm not saying that because I've done anything. I'm just following a data-backed approach to my marketing. I'm eliminating the risk to the business owner on each step. And eventually, once they work through our system and optimize it, they have some of the best months in the history of their company. Now, the point I'm saying is to go back to what you said. How much is it really worth? Well, for this pest control company, they spent $1.8 million in marketing and lost $2 million of business. So would it have been worth spending $7,500 up front and getting it right before they went out and lost all their money? And so that's the point, is like, what are you going to do? As long as and again, it's not about me, it's about your customer. Go understand your customer, understand what motivates them, what drives them. That's the whole point. Everybody is lacking connection right now. COVID has put that on steroids. And the whole point is having a deeper connection to break through those 10,000 ads a day block that we are seeing right now everywhere.
So here's a unique thing that I really want to get into. We're going to switch gears over to the political world, the cutthroat, insane political world that I just completely tried to avoid, but you can avoid it. No matter how hard you try to get away from it, it's in your face all the time. And the unique thing is, like, with your stats here for your what your marketing is with all these election victories and everything else, when you're doing marketing for an election. You got a specific amount of finite time to get a freaking result. And you know what's cool about that? You're getting results, but every business should have that same mentality. Like for me, I wish I could know, here's my target, here's my client, this is what they need to hear, and I need to make this happen by December 31st. Like that's my date, because that's how an election would work. You have a specific date. If it doesn't work, the marketing you do didn't work, that person doesn't get elected. So why is it that politics are onto that, and you figured this out from that world? But over in the business side, all marketing companies just say, well, we got to do testing. We got to just keep doing this. You got to spend. Well, it didn't work. You got to spend more. I just heard this last week. We spend a lot on marketing to fill butts and see you're laughing. But I said to him, I said, listen, you're not getting the results you said you were going to get. And we've done everything you said. Well, you got to spend more. That's always their answer, right? Spend more. It's like, okay, my event is in November. I have a finite time to make that event happen. And all you keep saying is spend more, spend more, spend more. And I'm still not getting results. Where is that disconnect? And why is there a disconnect?
I'm gonna tell you a quick story and then I'll answer it. So there was a congressional race in 2020 out of Iowa. I'm blanking on the candidates' names and the district itself. I had it in my head just about a week ago now. I can't think of it, but that's not the point. The point is that this Republican was running against a Democrat, and in the race, I think there were 340,000 votes. And the Republican won by 7 votes. That's what we're up against. Well, and what I always tell business owners is, let's just reverse this scenario. Imagine if I told you, I think the whole election was after the primary. This is the general election, but after the primary, it was like 7 months. I think $3 million were spent on the campaign, and it came down to 7 votes out of 340,000 votes. Okay. What if I told you, Chris, that you and your number one competitor in the marketplace, there was a contest. You had 7 months and you were going to have $3 million to spend. And so was your number one competitor. And after the end of 7 months, the ones with the most transactions would be number one in the market. And the number 2 finisher would be out of business. You couldn't start your business. You'd be gone. That's what we face every day in politics. And what identified in this 5-step system in politics is that not only is it so my opponents are also utilizing this 5-step system. So it's about who runs the better 5-step system, right? In sports, I'll walk through it in sports. Almost every professional sports team utilizes this 5-step system, but it's a mano-a-mano competition. So it's whoever out innovates utilizing the 5-step system. The one industry that is absolutely not doing this is the marketing industry in corporate America. So if you utilize it, you have an exponential advantage over any other competitor because no one else is even understanding that they need to do it. And so, that's how we look at it. Look, I'm in a win or die business in politics. Win or die. If I go pitch a guy that wants to go run for governor of New York. Oh, it's actually happening right now.
Yeah, actually, let's talk about
this. I'm actually working in that state for a guy running for governor right now.
Good.
But my point is this: if I go pitch that guy and he says, oh, well, what's your win-loss record? If I have more losses than I do wins, you think he's going to hire me?
No.
Nope. So my ass is on the line every day, and either I win or I die. And so that's the mentality we take. And what I find in corporate America, not only do the marketers run around just throwing up a bunch of tactics against the wall that they have no idea whether they're experts in the tactics, but they're trying to sell you the tactics because the tactics are what makes them money. Here's what I do. And this is, we were talking to a Shark Tank company the other day. I said, I have a data system. The data tells us where we spend our money. I don't have a dog in the hunt. I look at the data and I tell you, I have a fiduciary duty to tell you as a business owner, you're going to go down this direction because this is what the data says, not what Phillip says, because Phillip makes money on YouTube, but he doesn't make it on Facebook. Like, that's why I do it. And so this particular company we were talking to, again, they were a Shark Tank company. They are spending all of their money on YouTube because they have a YouTube marketing company or marketing agency working with them. When we went into and looked at their data, we looked at all their customers. They had 20,000 customers. YouTube was the 5th performing social media platform for their customers.
And they're spending all their money in the fifth performing.
Yep.
Seems backwards.
Yep. But they didn't know.
Yeah, because somebody's getting paid. They got to follow the dollar.
That's right. The dollar for me is the data. And by the way, the other thing, and this is one of the biggest lies thing. So I'm sorry, I'm going to go. I love it. We go off on tangent. So here's a tangent. In my first book, the Fire Them Now, I wrote about the number one biggest lie in the marketing industry. It's called the long-term contract. You have to, the majority of marketing agencies make you sign a 12-month, 6-month, or 3-month contract, sometimes even 18-month. In politics, I've never had a contract that was not month to month. Every contract I've ever signed in my entire 25 careers, month to month, every one. So my ass is on the line every month. Either I perform for the business owner, or I'm gone. And do you know what that does to my team when they know they have to perform for that client, or they're going to be out of a job? They don't go, we got a 6-month contract. We got a bigger client over here in month 1. So let's just put all our energies over here because the other guy can't do anything about it. And so my whole point is I'm month to month. You can fire me anytime you want, but I better perform. And that has created so much innovation out of the market for marketing in the marketing industry for us. And it was very hard to do. I had a lot of private equity companies approach me and go, we'd love to buy you. And I go, cool. And they go, what's your recurring revenue model? And I said, no, I don't have one. And they go, well, see you later. And I go, okay, see you later. I'm not going to budge. This is who I am.
Oh my God. This is the perfect place. Like I have this quote in Tony Robbins: the quality of your life is in direct proportion to the amount of uncertainty you can comfortably tolerate. How much uncertainty can you tolerate?
Did you get that from me?
I got it. It's on my notes, man.
Oh, it's on your notes. Okay. Cause I was going to say, that's my number one quote in life.
Oh, well, that's probably why.
Yeah. Okay.
It says
seriously,
you
just pulled
that
that
quote. No, I didn't. I wish I was that good, but I also go off of the data. I know what you like. So therefore I have the data.
I love it.
Marketing,
you
man.
were prepared and I
Absolutely.
appreciate that.
Come on, man. I'm just getting warmed up here.
Yeah. So I mean, the quality of your life is in direct proportion to the amount of uncertainty you can comfortably tolerate. There are a lot of people that can't tolerate a lot of uncertainty. Look at COVID. Look at like the lockdowns and the governments that are trying to control people with lockdowns. Now, I'm not trying to get into any kind of crazy debate. I live in Florida and our governor basically has said, hey, it's up to you. If you want to take the risk, go for it. I'm not shutting down your business. If you want to shut down your business and because you're scared, go do it. I'm not going to do it. He's given us an amount of freedom and you have the choice to be, locked down in your house or be free. You got that choice. It's up to you. And there's a lot of uncertainty when you decide to live with a lot of freedom. And there's a lot of uncertainty as an entrepreneur. And what are you going to do with that?
Put that better. Man. Yeah, that is awesome. The way you just,
and it is, that quote has broken me free of more fear in my life than I could ever imagine. So, I'm grateful for it.
Well, you've had to go through some really scary things. And I asked before the show if it was okay if we went into this, but you had something happen to you. I don't know how many years ago it was, but it's a autoimmune degenerative disease.
Yeah.
Can we talk about this? Because you're talking about uncertainty. Like that's about as uncertain as it gets. But yeah, every day you're getting out there, you're getting to it. You're doing all these interviews. You got your own podcast. You're spoken in front of 40 million people. Like that's not the face of uncertainty. That's the face of someone that's certain in where they want to go, even though you're living in an uncertain environment, being that you've got this disease. This is very important because so many people right now, I don't care if it's COVID or different things in their life, there's so much uncertainty and people are making bad decisions because they're scared.
Right. And they're scared because they're being allowed to be manipulated by others.
Oh, you're damn right they are. But we won't even go into the sheep that are living out there. And anyway.
So I mean, listen, my story is my story. Everybody's different. I always get this, what's your diet? I can talk about all this stuff, right? I've sort of, Tim Ferriss sort of hacked his life because of what my situation is, and I'll walk through it. But I've sort of had to hack my life in order to not just survive but thrive. But my hacking is just my hacking. I mean, I even just like 2 months ago, I discovered something in blood work that I had been screwing up, even though for 5 years I've been on this complete health like journey. And it's like, oh my God, I can't believe I did this. Through all of my progress, I was still screwing up. But that's me. Like I have certain things that affect my body that don't affect others. So I want to tell this story with intention, but know that it's just my story. I'm not recommending that anybody do anything else that I do. And it really drives me nuts when everybody is out there screaming, you need to do exactly the way I say you should do things. Everybody's different.
That sounds familiar these days.
I mean,
doing it wrong.
Right. I get yelled at by my own brand marketing team because I don't do selfie videos all the time. And it's not me. I'm 47. What am I going to walk down the street doing a selfie video telling people to listen to me? No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to provide content and people can take and extrapolate out of that what they want. My story is about 10 years ago. I was eating in my kitchen in Washington, D.C. and eating cereal. And I was like, God, this cereal is not going down. I can't understand. Like it just feels lodged in my esophagus. And it took about 18 months from that point to end up at Johns Hopkins, where they diagnosed me with a rare esophageal disease that they say is incurable. And it's called achalasia. Basically, the muscles and nerves don't work in my esophagus and they're dead and they'll never work again. And, there was an autoimmune attack to my esophagus and it killed all the muscles and nerves. So you can imagine, this is 10 years in, anything I eat does not go down. I have to push water down for every bite of food I take in my life. And, I basically spent from 2011 until 2017 outsourcing my disease to hospitals and doctors. And I'm grateful for all of this because during COVID, I realized, I know now the truth of the healthcare system after going through it. And they had me on lots of prescription pills. They had me, I think at this point, I've had 21 minor surgeries on my esophagus. I've had 4 major surgeries on it. And the last major surgery I had, the second to last major surgery I had was they cut 25% of my stomach out. They pulled my esophagus down into my stomach. They wrapped the part they cut out, they wrapped it around my esophagus and basically they stapled it all together. That's how it sits right now. And there's an expiration date. The staples come out at some point. It's between 5 and 10 years, and I'm in year 6 of this. And so I asked the doctors after that, well, what happens when the staples come out? We do this again? And they said, no, we remove your esophagus. You have an esophagectomy. Basically, they either put me on a feeding tube or they connect my stomach to my throat. And that's how I lived the rest of my life. And I'm 47 right now, right? At the time, I was 41. And I remember by the way, this is the Mayo Clinic. I was being treated at the Mayo Clinic. And I realized and then the doctor's like, look, Phillip, your disease is what it is. Take your prescription meds. The prescription meds have known long-term dementia capabilities, but they work in the short run. And they said, we'll see you in 6 months. And I remember driving home and I said, I don't accept this. And I didn't know what that meant. And, I love one of my favorite quotes also is the ignorance of an entrepreneur is a beautiful thing, because I went, I'm not accepting this anymore. I got to do something about it. So that was in 2016. And I didn't know what that meant, but I knew I needed to get my diet in order. And I need to figure out if I could preserve my esophagus before I could try to figure out if there was a chance to cure this esophageal disease. Of course, when I say ignorance, an entrepreneur trying to cure a disease that has no cure, he's not in the medical field, all this stuff. And what I realized in the medical world and in the healthcare world is they treat you the same, no matter what your condition is. So every time that doctor at the Mayo Clinic sees 50 patients a day, I'm no different. And this is not a shot at the doctor. They're forced to see 50 patients a day. So he just says, prescription meds, and he just writes it out every single time. Same thing for every single person. Every single person actually is different. Their blood work is different. The way they function is different. Their sleep habits are different. Everything's different. But you're treating everybody the same. It's the same thing with COVID right now. They're treating everybody the same. 79% of the people who have died from COVID are obese. 79%, or have, and you add in comorbidities, it's even higher. Well, you're not like that, Chris. Last time I checked, which is right now. So they're treating you along the way of an 82-year-old person. It makes no sense. And I'm laughing out loud during the COVID crisis. I'm like, this is what they do. They lump us all together. And I just said, I got to take control. So I was at a conference with Peter Diamandis, who's business partners with Elon Musk in 2017. And he asked everybody, it was a business conference, and he said, everybody take out your notebook and write down a moonshot. A moonshot is something people say is impossible that you'll make possible in your business. And I went, well, I got one, but it has nothing to do with my business. And I wrote down, I'll find a cure to this disease in 5 years. So that was in
Phillip. You said it has nothing to do with your business. You're wrong. It has everything to do with your business, because if you don't take control of that, your business doesn't exist, man.
Well, that's fair. That's fair. But it wasn't like I'm adding a new widget to my business in a moonshot, right? I guess that's what I would mean by that. And I didn't know what that meant. But one of the takeaways Peter said was like, take 3 steps on this immediately when you leave this conference so you can get some momentum. So I ended up writing an article and I announced that I had this disease and I would find a cure for it in 5 years. And I wrote it in ink, and Ink published it. And again, ignorance of an entrepreneur, beautiful thing. I had no research. I'd done nothing. I just announced I'd find a cure in 5 years. Well, a researcher found that from a Google alert on the disease at Johns Hopkins University, and a different department than when I'd originally been treated. And he said, I've worked on this disease for 25 years, and I think there's a cure down the road. Maybe we should partner up. And I said, sure. In the same time, I met a doctor who's now written like 5 New York Times bestsellers named Dr. Stephen Gundry. He wrote a book called The Plant Paradox. And the diet he was advocating spoke to me. It's called an anti-lectin diet. It's a long story, but I got on it, and I've been on it for 4.5 years now. And on the health side of this, or my diet side of this, I am now 4 years from taking prescription medications for my disease. My diet got so clean and so, and I was doing food sensitivity tests, and I do 120 different blood tests every 6 months. And I understand my body completely. And I know it changes every 6 months, and I know I need to adapt to that. I take 80 supplements a day now. Now, you can imagine a guy who doesn't have a functioning esophagus taking 80 supplements a day is quite challenging, but that's what it is. I don't have a mental
picture, but yes, it sounds.
Yeah, it's just think of it's a big traffic jam for a few hours every day for me. And but that's what it is. If I want to live and I want to be healthy, this is the choice I have to make. What are you going to do with that choice? Do I get to take them, or do I have to take those supplements? I get to take those supplements. My esophagus is still there. It doesn't work, but I haven't removed it, so I get to. And ultimately, on the cure front, the doctor put a team together. We have about 40 or 50 team members around me. It took many years to get through the bureaucracy of the medical world. And right before COVID hit in February 2020, I actually went to Hopkins. They had extracted stem cells out of my thigh muscle, and they injected 250 million stem cells into my esophagus to try to regenerate the muscles and the nerves. Now, this is the first, I guess, experiment that's ever been done to try to cure achalasia, the disease. It has never been done on animals. We had to get FDA approval. We had to get board certified. We had so many different approvals to get through. But ultimately, I'm the first human being to ever attempt a cure at this disease, even before there's no clinical trial. We're like 3 steps before a clinical trial. I'm literally, the doctors told me I'm not, please, they asked me not to say this, but I'm the guinea pig. I am. I'm just the guinea pig, and I had to make a choice. And there are some dire consequences if it goes south. But I just decided, yeah, I'm going to go for it, because the quality of my life is in direct proportion to the amount of uncertainty I can comfortably tolerate.
I wrote this down even before you said that. And I didn't even know if I was going to get to say it. I said, give up or fight.
Right. Yeah.
That's exactly what you had to make that decision. We all have to make that decision one way or the other.
So a year ago, I went back to Johns Hopkins to do all the post work to see what my esophagus looked like, because this was in the procedures in February of 2020. So in August of 2020, went back to Baltimore, went to Hopkins. They tore me open again, looked at everything, and they announced it did not work. And they said, we can do this one more time. Are you willing to do it? And I said, yes. And they said, this time we're not going to inject 250 million stem cells. We're going to inject 600 million stem cells into you. And so we're going to see what happens then. And I said, okay, it has taken a year. We are still getting approval for this, but it looks like in September or November of 2021, I will go back and try it again. And if it doesn't work, Chris, I'll find a plan B. I'm really fine. I mean, I have the health, my health. I have my family. If the worst thing in the world is I have a feeding tube, I'm still grateful. My best friend has ALS right now. I don't have ALS. I'm not dying of this thing right now. I'm happy. So I'm just going to keep moving forward.
Well, I love that you're going for it. It's a mindset. You know, it's you just, like I said, you know, you're just not willing to give up. You're willing to fight. I've got a friend, a very close friend of mine. And many years ago, he had a company that he had to get on big ladders and he fell. And because of that, he was paralyzed. And every single doctor he went to, he's looking for the different answer, very similar to you. He went to every doctor. They all said, you'll never walk again. You'll never walk again. It's physically impossible. There's not one person that's ever walked after your type of injury.
Sure.
And he just failed to accept that. Now, I'll never forget the day when I was at a seminar. He went up and he's giving his talk. Now he's in a wheelchair. So the whole day I'd seen him kind of pushing himself around in this wheelchair. And then he gets to the punchline and we're all just like, what's he talking about? He stood up and he walked without any crutches.
Wow.
Without any help. He walked across the stage. At that point, I realized that medical and science can't overcome mental fortitude.
Sure.
If you want something bad enough, you will be able to do it. There's nothing we can't do. And I always say, you know, when it comes to money, because that's what I teach mostly, I said, you know, whatever you ask of life, it will grant you.
That's right.
That's easy to say, but then the work that comes with that isn't the easy part. That wasn't easy for him to walk. He didn't just one day say, I'm going to walk and stood up. No, he had to strengthen his hip muscles to replace his leg muscles so that he could walk. Now, not only did he walk, I've gotten to know him well. We were at a game out in California, a football game. Now, have you ever been in the stadiums, like the big football stadiums? We're up in the box, okay? And he takes his wheelchair down, and he's like, I want to get on that field. And everybody had told him, oh, we can't, you know, unfortunately, we don't have, a way to get you down there. And he says, you have stairs, right? And he said, yeah, those are the stairs right there. You've seen those steep concrete stairs that walk down to the field. There's only one way onto that field. He's like, I'm going to walk down them. They almost didn't let him. And finally, like we were with one of the NFL players. He says, stop, like just let him. The man walked down all of those stairs.
Did he?
I didn't help him. I wanted to help him. He walked down them all. And then on the way back up, I'm like, hey, Jeff, we'll just grab us. He's like, I got this. And he walked his ass back up the stairs.
Wow.
Got in his chair. Didn't like sit there and wait for someone to pat him on the back and just wheeled himself away. And that is what makes people different. When they absolutely in their mind will not allow anyone to tell them they can't do something. You're no different, man. You know, well, he doesn't want to take credit. I mean, you probably don't, but you're no different.
Yeah, but this is just I think any entrepreneur, you would do the same thing if it were in those circumstances.
You're damn right I would. 100%.
Life presents challenges to you. They're always going to present challenges to you. This year has been incredibly challenging. You know, when you're talking about business owners right now, we are seeing a massive shift in the marketplace of employees. Employees don't want to work. They don't want to work for your crappy company. They don't want to go into an office. And what are you going to do? Like, this is the biggest adjustment that we are facing right now as an economy, is how much we are shifting this economy and how employees are now the ones holding all the cards. And it's a challenge that my team and I are looking at every single day, trying to figure out how to solve it. And that happened because of COVID. It just accelerated something that was probably coming 10 years away. And it's a metaphor for your social life, your marriage, raising kids, your health. It's just, you're always going to be faced with challenges and roadblocks. And what do you do? And unfortunately, we have a lot of people in this country, who are soft.
Cheap.
And they just lay down. And the question is, the people I want to surround myself with and the way I want to live my life are the people that keep getting up and keep fighting.
I love it. And, one of the other things too in the political world, and this is something I've never understood, especially, and this is a perfect question for you. In the political world, like, how do you manage there's different belief systems for either side, and you market for, I'm sure, different marketing campaigns for different politicians. Like, how do you disconnect from your belief system, or how do you mend your belief system to blend? I guess just how do you do that? Like, I personally, I couldn't do it.
Yeah. So let me ask you this question. You're married, right?
I am.
All right. Do you and your wife have the same beliefs?
Absolutely not. What kind of beliefs?
Hold on. How are you married to her then?
Well, I guess I got quick with saying no because it depends on the beliefs. I guess just being married as long, I'm not married that long, but married as long. I just feel like we never have the same beliefs, but I think we do in a roundabout way.
Do you have clients that implement some of your work and not all of your work? Mm-hmm. How do you work with those people?
Just focus on the thing you can control and focus
on the thing you believe in. Yes, you nailed it. I don't have to agree with everything that someone believes in. I just have to agree with enough. I have to agree with the core part of it. And that's what I believe. So do I believe everything a candidate stands for? Nope. But ultimately we have a choice in this society. There are two candidates usually. You're going to have to choose one, or if you want to participate in democracy, and I choose one, right? I always go back to the Teddy Roosevelt quote, "Man in the arena." I mean, it's one thing to sit on the outside and complain and bitch, or you can be in the arena and take all the shots and take all the, trust me on this, been plenty of people have tried to cancel me because of my political leanings and where the candidates that I help. By the way, I work with Democrats and Republicans, right? I like the candidate. I'd usually choose the candidate. Now I tend to be, swayed far more on the Republican side, but I don't even know if I consider myself a Republican. I really don't. I don't label myself anything. I just like candidates that are fighting for freedom. I like candidates that are trying to help others without government interference. And that's just my personal beliefs. That's the core of what I believe in. Do I believe with their social issues, if they're, I don't know, pro or for abortion or against abortion, like either way, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care about social issues. Not what drives me. What drives me is freedom. What drives me is economic issues, and I don't want to work against somebody that discriminates, or someone that's racist, or someone that wants to hold other people back. I mean, I guess those are my core beliefs. And as long as they check those boxes, I'll work for anybody.
That's great. There was Earl Nightingale. I know you've seen his stuff, and there's one thing he said and I watch this video no less than at least once a month, and I should watch it once a week. But he talks about the difference between success and failure. And this is kind of what I'm going to wrap on. And he takes 100 20-year-olds and he goes around and he asks them all, are you going to be successful at the age of retirement? Every one of those 20-year-olds say 100% yes. With utmost certainty, there was no shadow of doubt in their mind. Then if we fast forward to age 65, a little bit after retirement age, but we'll just call that the retirement age for Social Security. And we look at Social Security's statistics.
Yeah.
Out of those 100 eager and optimistic 20-year-olds, only 5 of them will be financially successful. Only one of them will be wealthy. What the hell happened to those 95? Why did they not succeed? Why did they go from being secure and confident and nothing will stop them to now not being where they are? A lot of people want to come up with a million excuses, like you talked about, sitting on the sidelines, bitching, moaning, saying, oh, this person did that. This didn't happen. Oh, my life's been tough. Oh, this. Oh, I had this thing. I lost this. There's one difference, that makes those 5 successful versus those 95 unsuccessful, and that is creation. Creation is one of the greatest things for success. But the problem, and I'm bringing this up because it's your world. Right now, we live in a world of uncertainty, but that world of uncertainty is also creating a whole bunch of people that are just willing to conform because it's the easy path. And they're conforming to other people's ideologies, other people's belief systems, and other people's goddamn failures. And that is okay for 95% of the people out there. Dude, that can't be. I'm not willing to accept that. And I'm not willing to accept that for anybody. What is your take on that one differentiation? And what would be your best advice to anyone and everybody out there that's looking at this thing? I want to create, but I don't know how.
Yeah, first of all, preach, brother. Love it. And I would tell you this. Um, this is personal because I believe that the way out is through. And what I mean by that is if you want to, if you don't face your challenges, if you don't face things head on, if you don't see your failures as just feedback, your brain is always going to go to the easiest route. It's always going to go to the easiest route. For me personally, one of the things that I've spent, a 7-year really real entrepreneurial journey instead of just a fake one. But I've also done a journey on trying to be a better person, which I fail at every day. And one of the realizations I've had this year is that despite whatever, all the perceived success and all these things that I've done, and the fight and the purpose and the passion you've probably seen from me, I don't love myself. And I am learning at 47 years old how to love myself.
You have to.
And since February, when I made that decision, my life is infinitely better. And I think we have a society today that is so obsessed with social media and so obsessed with living in another world, a distracted world, that we're unable to just face our thoughts every day, the reality of our decisions. We just would rather just go bury our heads in our phones and be distracted by social media rather than having real relationships with people. By the way, I'm talking about myself. And I realized that I had to make a decision. And I had to figure out a way to love myself. I had to do things for myself. That I can't be the father and the husband I want to be if I don't love myself first. And I thought I could do all these other things without loving myself or not wanting to choose to love myself. The same criticism you have for everybody is the same thing I would tell you about my own self and just how I looked at myself. I didn't want to face it. I took the easy route. I buried myself in my phone when my daughter is asking me to watch a TV show. I've done that a million times. My wife wants to sit back on the patio and have a glass of wine together. And I say, sorry, I got to stay at work another hour, just distracting myself. I was working out, 4 or 5 days a week, not because it was an outlet, but because I was distracting my brain away from just being in my own thoughts. And so ultimately, I'm on a journey that's always going to screw up and always make mistakes. It's what do I do after that? And do I live unconsciously or do I live consciously? And I mean, I've gone through a totally crazy journey of psychedelic medicines, a lot of therapy, and I've done the work, but it always goes back to the work, whether it's in your business, whether it's in yourself, whether it's on your health. The work is not easy. The work is not the easy path. And I'm just humbled because I never get this right. I'm always a work in progress and I'm always going to climb the mountain, but I got to do the work if I want to have an extraordinary life. And I've been blessed because at 41, I started to see that light and realized I needed to be more conscious in my life about how I felt, how I looked at things, how I loved myself, how I treated other people, all those types of things. And I think we're in a world right now where no one is willing to look within and do the work. And when they do, an extraordinary life is waiting for them.
Wow. Well said. I think we all need to take that right there and decide right now whether or not, we just got to draw the line in the sand and we got to take a side. And that side, I'm not talking politics. I'm just talking about one side is you're going to bury your head in the sand. You're just going to lay down and bury your head in the sand. And everything, including life, is going to run you over and you might die. You might never make it. The other side of that line is the hardest side you'll ever be on. And that is the side where you have to grab the torch and you need to carry that light through the darkness for everybody else. And people need to decide whether they're going to follow and see the truth and create the life they want. Or unfortunately, and this is the hardest part, the hardest realization I've had to learn in my life is I've had to learn how to say no. Because if I say yes to every person that I think I can help, that means I say no to the right people.
That's right. I'm really good at saying yes to everything. So
Yep,
I
and
totally feel you there, man.
I've always been that yes person. It's just easier to say yes.
Yeah.
But when you learn how to say no, and I learned this from Gary Keller's book, The One Thing, when you learn to say no, it allows you to say yes to the right thing and the right person and help the people that actually need and want the help, not the people that want to lay down, bury their head in the sand and just let life run them over. And folks, if that didn't motivate you, what you just heard from Phillip, pick a side, grab the damn torch and carry it through the darkness, because we are in dark times and they're going to get worse. And you're all going to see. And I can't wait to see how many of you are picking the torch up and running it through, just like Phillip has in so many ways. Phillip, I know for a fact, without any shadow of doubt, I need to work with you and your company. And I don't care what it takes, because like I probably am just out there pissing money away, trying to figure out who my customer is, even though I think I know. I don't know how to get them. It's what'd you say? 10 million advertisers? Is that the number?
Oh, we're seeing 10,000 ads a day.
10,000 ads a day. Nobody's seeing my shit. I need to figure out who they are and just focus on them. So I am going to be working with you, but anybody listening to this, how would they find more about working with you? And do you have like an interview process on who you work with and who you don't? Like, how does that work?
No, we're givers. We believe in giving first in our business. So go to phillipstutts.com/insights. It's a 2-minute form you fill out. You tell us what you want to know about your customer or your client, and my team will do a 30-minute free call with you and tell you what it would look like with our data. It's free. That's number one. 2, phillipstutts.com. You can sign up for my blog. Again, I've never sold a single thing on my blog. My subscriber list has never been pitched a single thing. I like to write, and I like to highlight the guests I have on my podcast. So we write about those things, and you can learn about the Undefeated marketing system. You can learn about the data we're seeing. We literally just put out, Chris, yesterday. We've been doing more work on the economy and looking at the consumer market. And I can tell you what's going on with all the craziness of the new variants out there about how consumers are looking at the marketplace. And I can tell you everything. We give all this data away, and you can go to phillipstutts.com and look under, COVID studies and get all that data about your customers for free. I write a blog. I talk about all this stuff. I have the Undefeated Marketing Podcast. Again, another freebie. You can go there as well. And yeah, just find me there, phillipstutts.com.
There you go. Phillip, this has been a real honor having you on. It's been a great discussion, and thanks for really, getting down in the weeds and, kind of talking about some of those hard personal things. Sometimes that's the best thing to bring out. And I really appreciate what you're doing.
No, I appreciate what you're doing. I love your work, man.
Thanks, man. And for all of you listening, draw that line in the sand. What side are you going to be on? You're going to lay down and just let everybody run you over? You willing to just put it all on the line and just lay down? Or are you willing to get on the other side, the hard side, and actually pick that damn torch up and carry it through the darkness so that others can follow you, and you then start to create your destiny, your future, and your financial success? And if you do it, others will follow. Pick a side. Stop thinking other people owe you something. For that, we'll see you guys on the next episode.